What's up guys? This is Evan with Backwoods Adventure Mods. Today we're going to do a walkthrough on the installation of our 2019 Sprinter rear non-swing out bumper. This van has all the sensors. It has the blind spot assist as well as the parking sensors, and our bumper works with both systems. When you open the box, you'll see the bumper and another box full of the mounts and hardware. In this case, you'll also get brackets for the blind spot brackets and housings for the parking sensors. If you didn't get either of those options, if your van doesn't have those options, then you'll get deletes instead. And also today we're going to be installing some Pathfinder flush mount LED lighting in the bumper for backup lights. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is remove the stock bumper. You'll need a trim tool and a Torx bit driver set. This van doesn't have a spare, but if it did, that's the first thing you do before you can take the hitch off. You lift up this panel here and you can lower the spare. So first we're going to pop this out of the way a little bit and remove a couple of pins. We think somebody's done this before, so these pins look a little bit different than we're used to seeing, but it's the same procedure either way. And then there's some more underneath the bumper. Next, using a T40 Torx bit, we're going to go around the top edge of the bumper and remove these screws. There's two more of these hiding under here. While we're under here, we're going to go ahead and unplug the wiring harness. Also, I separated the center from the edge of the bumper, this clip right here. We're going to relocate the trailer wiring plug into the bumper. So first we're going to take it out and then we're going to cut this bracket off. It's a T20. Cut the zip ties. Now we're going to drop down the receiver hitch so we can cut this off and paint it. Okay, we're going to remove the hitch because we're going to be creating some sparks when we cut this. If you're going to use a different method of cutting that and you don't want to remove the hitch, you don't have to. You can just take the bolts out of the hitch one at a time and replace them with our bolts. But for this video, we're going to take it all the way down. It's an 18mm socket and you'll need a backup wrench, also 18mm. So much sensitive under here. It's terrible. Gross. They really got this one good with it. Sticky. Next, we're going to cut the bracket off. You can just cut kind of around the edge of it here, but we're going to take a more clean approach and cut through the welds and grind them off so it looks like it was never there. All right, while we let the paint dry on the hitch, we're going to move over the parking sensors and the blind spot sensors from the old bumper into the new one, and we're going to install our Pathfinder lights. Now the parking sensors, we can zoom in on this. This is a housing that we make. It accepts the factory sensor and the housing pops into our bumper. We're going to leave the sensors attached to the harness so there's no way we can get them mixed up. So we're going to pull everything out as an assembly. The sensors have a top and bottom tab that you have to pry apart, and then push the sensor towards the inside of the bumper. And these little guys just pop out the bottom. This is the blind spot sensor. Okay, if you do choose to take your sensors out of the harness, just make sure you remember which way they were facing and which position they were in. That's critical. So we're going to install it in the new bumper. Now our parking sensor housings have two ridges and they line up with the two notches in the hole in the bumper. They snap in from the outside, and the parking sensor snaps in just like it did in your stock bumper. The blind spot sensors use this stainless bracket with the padding on the inside. Make sure that the smooth part, the black part, is facing outwards on the bumper. So it's going to install facing out like this. Before we put it on, I've got to take these apart. We've got a couple of these black windows basically for the sensor to be able to see through, since it can't read through metal. So it goes on like that. All right, we're ready to put the hitch back in. Using the new hardware that comes in the kit, just hang it up where it belongs in between the frame rails and put the bolts in from the inside of the frame facing outwards. You don't have to put nuts or washers on it yet. This way we'll be able to hang our new brackets on the outside of the frame on the thread that sticks out. On a side note, these plates are on the outside of some of these vans. You can discard it, you don't need it. We now have the mounts loosely installed. I'm not going to tighten them down yet. This is our adjustment forwards and rearwards, and it'll allow for just a little bit of rotation. So we're going to go ahead and hang the bumper on the brackets now. Okay, we have all the bolts in now. Before we tighten anything down, we're going to use a couple of them to do the adjustment. The bottom two bolts on each side are much easier to get to. You can use an impact. So we're going to tighten those up first, and once we've got our adjustment where we want it, then we'll go in and tighten everything else, including the ones that go through the frame rail. So this is your chance to center it side to side. I'll go by the gap on the outside edge of the door to the leading edge of the bumper, or if you look rearward from the front, you can see how much bumper sticks out on each side, and just try to make them both the same. Okay, it's already almost exactly where we want it. So we'll go ahead and tighten them down. Then we're going to push it forward just a little bit to achieve the gap we want on the front edge, and then we'll tighten down the last of the bolts. All the bolts we use, the large bolts at least, that attach the bumper to the mounts and the mounts to the frame, use a 19mm or a 3/4 inch wrench. This particular model isn't as tight as some of the rear bumpers, but still, I understand some of the hardware is hard to get to. A stubby or a stubby ratchet are a couple tools that I've found to be pretty useful. We're going to make sure and remember to plug back in the bumper wiring harness. That was backwards. As well as the trailer wiring plug. Okay. And then zip tie up any wires that are still hanging free. Okay, one last thing to do before we're done. Double check clearance. Open your door slowly and carefully and make sure that it's not too close to any part of the bumper. So we're good. And that's it. Just in conclusion, the basic process: we pulled off the plastic bumper, took off the hitch, cut the bracket off the hitch, painted it. While we were waiting, we transferred the sensors over into the new bumper, installed the lights in the new bumper and the trailer wiring plug. Then we put on the hitch, our brackets, and then our bumper onto that bracket, connected the wires, tightened down the bolts after the adjustment, and made sure that there's no interference with the door. If you guys have any questions, reach out to us at backwoodsadventuremods.com. Thanks for watching. Good? Is that good? Is that good? Yeah. Should I do it again? What else was I supposed to say right there? You'll have to remind me how to do these because you're so good at them. We peel this back and poke a pin. Was that what it was? All right, the first thing we're gonna do is remove the stock bumper. But I have a special friend here today to help us out. What's up, dude? We're gonna relocate the trailing wire. Blah. Maybe even do this a little. Man, I'm stumbling this afternoon. Well, that's got it bolted. Blah. Blah. Stiff and cut. What am I missing here? Okay. About to get western. This is terrible. Dude, I should have let you do this part. This is the toughest clip I've encountered ever. Safety clip not out far enough? Take it out altogether. Yeah. Maybe you can cut to that part. You know what? Let's wait for a helper today. That's got it buttoned up, guys. We've just, what have we done? What am I supposed to say here even?